Animals. They are everywhere within the Earth's ecosystem and play a crucial role in not only population control, but the balance of the core materials of the Earth and are necessary for how we function on a day-to-day basis. With some animals being some of the most cute and easily likable aspects of our lives, it is no surprise that their presence has bled into various works of fiction to enhance the stories or timelines that they are in. For a recent instance, the Superman movie released a couple weeks ago, and if you were to ask anybody a highlight of said movie, they would most likely say Crypto, the dog that works with Superman, as nobody could possibly hate on a dog like Crypto, which engages people with the experience more. However, sometimes these animals are not portrayed as cute or nearly as cuddly, and in fact Call of Duty Zombies is a very well-known culprit for completely messing up animals to make them look demonic, horrifying, and downright disgusting at times. So in this video, I wanted to cover the various amounts of animals that appear within the entire series to cover the wide range of live creatures that appear in the zombies mode in the animal kingdom. A full disclaimer before I begin this video, the animals that I will be including in this video will include some form of mythology within them, which you will soon listen on, and I am very aware that yes, a werewolf or a dragon is not real, but I just thought it would be cool to include them since most of them are based off of real life animals that exist in the real world. So without further ado, what is the first ever animal we saw in Call of Duty Zombies? Well, arguably the most iconic enemy in Call of Duty Zombies, and the one that constantly seems to appear in almost every single game since its inception, the hellhounds are of course zombified mutations of a common dog. These hellhounds would first make their appearance on Shinonuma, but would not necessarily be explained as to how they were created until the next map, Derice. Within Derice, we get radios detailing the events of what happened at the site, which would include a lot of testing, and I mean a lot, that mainly revolved around the idea of teleportation. Due to the fact that they did not want to use human test subjects, Group 935 of course opted to using other animals, which actually were mainly monkeys, which is something I will get into in a second, and even walnuts, but additionally there was a time when a dog was used. Samantha Maxis, the daughter of Ludwig Maxis, which was essentially a higher up to Richthofen, was given a dog by her father to keep her occupied while the scientists were performing their daily experiments to avoid any altercations, and she named the dog Fluffy, which was actually supposed to bear puppies, which is important, but we will get to that in a second. However, after Maxis was getting tiresome of bland walnuts and monkeys to conduct his teleportation experiments with, he decided to use Fluffy as a test subject instead, placing her in the teleporter, and upon her return, she resembled nothing of her original self and was turned into a zombie. The reason we see so many of these dogs, however, in the games is because the original dog, Fluffy, was going to have puppies, which would lead to these seemingly limitless dogs we see in the game. Outside of Fluffy, however, monkeys would actually be experimented on at this site as well, and as can be heard in a radio in Call of the Dead, was actually a common experimentation animal as they had it in Siberia as well. These monkeys would be used, however, the reason I bring them up here is because of the monkey bomb, a highly popular device that was introduced into this map, which is said to be an actual monkey. But outside of that, we would not see another animal with grotesque changes to its body until both of the release maps of Black Ops 1, Kino der Toten, and 5. Hellhounds would of course make another appearance in Kino der Toten, however both would feature a new special enemy known as the Nova Crawler, which was a horrifying crawling zombie that had the face of a true demon with loads amounts of teeth, as well as a gaseous cloud that would seemingly follow them everywhere. But you may be sitting here wondering, doesn't this just look like a regular zombie that's crawling with a weird looking face? While yes, on the surface level this does just look like a normal zombie, there is some unique backstory to its creation. As can be seen on blueprints in the basement level of 5, Nova Crawlers were actually created through the use of pig DNA, which is shown in the right side of the chart. It is unknown exactly what the pig DNA was used for in this creature, but it is clear that they are used because outside of this blueprint there is literally a struggling pig squealing in the room with you, as well as presumed deceased hanging pigs in a barrier in the same room. The return of monkeys would actually be upon us with DLC 1 Ascension, however these ones are actually very much alive compared to the ones that we see in Derice. These monkeys have their own dedicated round where they come down from space and landers with one goal in mind: to steal your precious perks. They are one of the more annoying bosses in Call of Duty Zombies, but you may be wondering why they are even coming from space in the first place. Well, this facility that we see in Ascension was run by a group known as the Ascension Group, and this group would use monkeys, once again, as test subjects that they would send into space to test their vitals and overall health in space. As of course, this was around the time of the space race occurring between a lot of different countries, and they wanted to ensure victory. However, after the madness of the facility was initiated with zombies, the monkeys would come crashing back down to Earth, but this time with seemingly altered appearances that would be explained through the effects of 115, making them stronger and more aggressive than usual. Now, we would not see another special enemy that resembled an animal until the final map of the game, Moon. However, I did want to mention something about Shangri-La. In the numerous pieces of cut content, we can find a cut oxen that would have featured in this map. This concept was thought of when Shangri-La was still being thought of as a Vietnam map, but of course it does not make an appearance in the actual game. Despite the fact that it never did make its appearance, I just wanted to mention it as personally I thought it would have been such a cool enemy to see in the map. Now, although it isn't new, I just wanted to mention that the Nova Crawlers are on Moon, but the only reason I am mentioning them here is because they have a slightly different ability, which is the ability to teleport. I have no idea how they can do that now, but I just thought it would be worth mentioning as these are presumably still made with the pig DNA. Moving into Black Ops 2, Transit had a couple unique special enemies within the map that differed from what we had seen in past maps. One of these special enemies was known as the Denizen, which is a terrifying looking creature that is very well known for being annoying as they constantly latch onto your face and claw at your eyes in the game. Although it has never been blatantly confirmed outright by Treyarch or anyone in the game, the Denizens were most likely a mutated result of experimentation by Broken Arrow in one of their sites, which can be seen in this comic panel about the Victus crew. The only thing that could potentially discredit this theory is the fact that denizens dig into the ground and bury themselves, which as far as I know is not the normal actions of a monkey, but the experimentation could have caused them to perform abnormal actions. Outside of that, we do not know a whole lot about the denizens, where they came from or what their purpose is, but that is most likely how they came to be. The only other animal that appears within Black Ops 2 Zombies are these things, which are named Jolting Jacks and are a variant of the Nova Crawlers we see in previous maps, and are pretty much crazy as they can jump off walls and ceilings at crazy speeds. We do not know literally anything about these guys, and the best guess that I have is that they are a result of testing from pigs once again, just like their lookalikes with the Nova Crawlers. Black Ops 2 Zombies unfortunately did not have any other animals, besides Arthur and Buried of course, but Advanced Warfare technically did. Although we have discussed something similar, Advanced Warfare technically had these dogs known as security dogs, which are clearly zombified versions of the dogs that would have been present at the Atlas facilities. They practically are the exact same thing as the average hellhound, but they do additionally have an EMZ variant as well. Shadows of Evil, despite the fact that it has living special enemies, are not real life animals, and the only one that represents a potential animal is the Parasite, which I guess could be a corrupted version of like the average Firefly or something, but we would not actually see another new animal added to the game until the release of Zetsubou no Shima, where we get introduced to the extremely unique spiders. Despite the fact that these guys technically act very similar to the dogs, they have some unique features to them that are not seen anywhere else. The spiders on the map can use their webs to block off a lot of different sections of the map, whether it be doorways, perks, and even the Gobblegum machine, which while annoying, I admit is unique to the map and fits the spiders as well, of course. The spiders are here as a result of a group known as Division 9 performing various experiments on them, which is a common theme now, and as spiders, they obviously produce a lot of offspring, which is very present in the map. There also is a humongous spider that can be fought for a part for the KT4 upgrade quest, and it essentially acts as a mini boss of the map, which is so cool, and I presume its size is due to the effects of exposure to large amounts of 115, which can be seen all around the map. Last thing I just wanted to quickly mention though is that you can actually play as the spider on the map by doing a small side Easter egg, and it's a really cool side Easter egg within the map that allows you to take the form of an animal, which is one of the few maps to do so. Outside of that, these spiders are a great inclusion in the mode, just don't ask Takia what he thinks of them. Unfortunately for the rest of Black Ops 3, we did not necessarily get any animals within the maps. I mean, we did get the dragons and Gorod Krovi, but of course those are not technically real animals. They are cool, do not get me wrong, and they play a pivotal role in not only the pack-a-punch process, but the Easter egg as well. They just aren't necessarily a real animal, so I wasn't entirely sure if I should include them. Both of the non-Treyarch adaptations of zombies that were present in between the release of Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4, which were Infinite Warfare and World War II zombies, only had one animal between the both of them. But it is kind of hard to even call this thing a real animal, as it is a quote-unquote animal that appears in Raven the Redwoods and takes the form of a Sasquatch, which of course is a work of fiction. Outside of that though, there wasn't even some form of a dog in these games, which is pretty interesting. Black Ops 4 saw some pretty unique takes on animals within the game though, as with one of the numerous launch maps, 9, we got our first look at the tiger in zombies. As those who were around on launch know, these things were absolutely diabolical when the game first released, practically being able to one-hit down you. With their lungeability and high speed, it made 9 that much harder of a map, and made a lot of people hate the boss because of it, but they would eventually get nerfed in a patch soon after the launch of the game. However, they are still extremely powerful and can be a genuine threat. They do kind of act more or less like the hellhounds, but these are definitely a lot more powerful, and you can't lie, they look so much cooler. But that wasn't the only unique animal we saw on this map, as upon the completion of the main quest of the map, we would be introduced to the elephant boss fight. This is one of the more interesting and truly one-of-a-kind boss fights we have ever seen in zombies, and a couple years before this, if you had told someone they would be fighting a huge zombie elephant, they would have laughed in your face. But these things, as you would most likely expect, are extremely powerful and can move around the arena that the boss fight takes place in at strikingly fast speeds for their weight. There is actually 2 of these guys, but I just found it so cool that they decided to use these as a true boss within the maps, and I assume that they were put under the curse of the Sentinel artifact or some form of it to make them zombified. We would not see another animal until Dead of the Night, where we would actually see a Nosferatu, which of course is technically some form of a vampire zombie. However, with those who know vampires, at least these versions of them, they can turn into bats, which can be seen here in this picture, and is how they seemingly manage to teleport around the map. These things are extremely annoying. They can run super fast and can manage to scratch you, leaving you with dazed vision, and are actually pretty common to spawn in throughout the rounds. There is a unique way to take these guys out though, as if you manage to get the steak knife or the savage impaler, these guys will be cakework. But other than that, they are a very annoying boss to deal with. There was another boss on this map that kind of resembled an animal, with of course the werewolf. The werewolf is a very good idea for this style of map. It manages to fit the atmosphere of the map extremely well, but it is unknown as to how it really got there, which is the same as the Nosferatus. It is first seen generally when opening up to the Pack-a-Punch, where it can be spotted literally flying across the treetops, which is actually super cool looking in all honesty. One of my favorite quote-unquote animals that would feature in any zombies map, Ancient Evil would actually have the mythological creature known as Pegasus. With Pegasus being a winged horse, it is no surprise it would play a key role in this map, as we utilize their abilities to gain access to the darker side of the map with Pack-a-Punch. Additionally, there is a piece of utility known as the Pegasus Strike that can be used to have Pegasus decimate zombies with lightning over any given area, which is a fun piece of equipment for the player to have access to. Outside of that, Pegasus was and still remains to be one of the few animals that actually helps us out rather than trying to kill us, but unfortunately would be killed during the boss fight of the map after it turned against us. Speaking of animals that try to help you, I should also probably just make a quick mention to the bird that Al Arlington turns into in the Blood of the Dead Easter egg. I didn't make any mention of it mainly because of the fact that it's not even a real part of the map, but I know someone would type it in the comments if I didn't include it. One of the 2 Aether maps that would release after Ancient Evil would just feature new takes on already existing animals, with the Jolting Jacks and Lightning Hounds on Alpha Omega, which of course were just elemental variants of both the Hellhounds and Nova 6 crawlers. After this point, it would be a very long time before we saw another form of an animal in zombies, as Cold War only featured bosses based around dark ether entities, and Vanguard and Modern Warfare 3 zombies followed suit. However, that would change with the introduction of Patient 13 on Terminus Island. Now yes, I am very well aware that this most likely has no relation to some form of a squid whatsoever, but just in the off chance that it was, I wanted to include it. Patient 13 has a pretty interesting backstory though, as it was once a scientist that worked for Project Janus on Terminus Island named Owen Guthrie, when all of a sudden he discovered the horrible and inhumane things being tested at the island and began gathering evidence to put the leader of it all, Rivati Modi, behind bars. However, he was caught and unfortunately would become a test subject of Modi, which would be mutated further with the nuclear warheads present within the submarine he swallowed, which of course we see in the boss fight of the map. There would be one last animal present within this game, at least as of making this video. I'm not too sure if there will be another one for Reckoning, and if there is, I'll probably make an edit to the script. Maybe. But the boss fight of Shattered Vale would reveal a giant T-Rex boss fight named the Z-Rex naturally, where it would have a huge resemblance to an actual T-Rex and is one of my favorite bosses of all time because of how special it actually is. Although it was pretty obvious it would be the boss at the start of the map, it was really climactic and definitely is something we have never seen before, which is always awesome to see. Before I finish up the video, I just wanted to make a quick mention to a mode that I personally have not played very much at all, Dead Ops Arcade. Throughout the 3 separate iterations of this mode has had a lot of animals that we do not see in regular gameplay, such as of course the Cosmic Silverback and even a chicken. So I just wanted to make sure I mentioned it for the few that actually play the mode. But outside of that, that is the last ever animal we have seen in Call of Duty Zombies as of making this video. I know this is kind of a random video, but as I was going through some of the maps in the game, I realized how much testing was really going on at these sites and how much of it was conducted on animals to see the truly horrific outcomes that they were shown to have in their zombified or experimented forms. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and let me know what kind of animal you may want to see in the future, but with that said, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.